Welcome back. Secretary-General of ASEAN Dr. Kao Kim Hourn met with the Vice Premier of China, Zhang Guoqing, in Beijing on the sidelines of his participation in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. In an official statement, the ASEAN has noted, and I quote, "The meeting reaffirmed the importance of the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and exchanged views on strengthening ASEAN-China cooperation in key areas such as trade, investment, tourism, connectivity, digital economy, and people-to-people exchanges." Dr. Kao also congratulated China for hosting the SCO Summit in Tianjin this year. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show at this point in time is Professor Swaran Singh, Fellow, JNU International Affairs expert, Major General A.K. Sivaj, former Chief of Territorial Army, Senior Defense expert, also with us on the program. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, with me on this show as well today. Last but by no means the least, Mr. Akash Jindal, economist, joins us on the program as well. Professor Singh, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, when it comes to India and China, it appears to me that this is the classical case of having a multitude of differences but still endeavor to get along. In the light of what the Americans are doing, what do you think is the qualitative effort that can pay off both these countries?
I think you rightly put it. I often describe to Western scholars how India-China relations are like a mosaic. Multiple shades can coexist. Only what is the flavor or flair of the day is what needs to be identified. Sometimes the Western approach is unidimensional. We have noticed it how whether it is war in Gaza or in Ukraine, Western countries have only focused on fighting the war with complete destructive capability. Whereas India and China, during even border tensions, had a fantastic growth in their bilateral trade. And in that sense, a meeting like this of Indian Prime Minister and President Xi Jinping, which was scheduled for 40 minutes and went on for 60 minutes, I would have discussed issues that, as India calls, are matters of concern for India, but also exploring incrementally how to move various initiatives that are on the table now, whether it is revival of direct flights, as Prime Minister mentioned in opening remarks, or it is setting up a new expert group for border demarcation or border management, opening border trade at 3 border points of Lipu Lake, Nathula, and Shipkila. Also, reviving the pilgrimage to Kailash Mansarovar. So simultaneously things move, and in that, I think from November last year, the flavor of the day is one of working towards normalization, and all that President Trump is doing is perhaps accelerating it. Nothing beyond that. I wouldn't say that is what is defining the nature of Prime Minister's visit to China, except the fact is that all the countries, all the 10 members and then 14 dialogue partners of Shanghai Cooperation Organization are facing the heat from President Trump. So even when SCO is supposed to be primarily focusing on energy security or 3 evils of terrorism, extremism, separatism, the big elephant in the room, of course, will be how to deal with Trump's tariffs. And that is noticing certain incremental shift. Even in India-China relations, there is a conversation of China now opening up its exports to India of fertilizers or rare earth materials and so on. India easing on visas from technical staff to now managerial staff and so on. And of course, private companies of India now exploring possibilities of joint ventures to offset the enormous trade deficit that we continue to face. So I would describe it as incremental nudging of the bilateral relationship towards becoming more productive. And of course, it sends messages to Western nations who may like to read it the way they want it. India, China are second and fourth largest economies. So among the top 4 economies of the world, 2 are Asian neighboring large countries called China and India. And when their national leaders come and sit together, it obviously is going to be noticed in Western countries. Many in West, both politicians and media, is beginning to blame President Trump for his tariffs as pushing India towards Russia, China, which already have a no-limit partnership among themselves. And that kind of paranoia, if there is one in Western countries as to what Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping can achieve together. It's their headache, it's not anybody else's headache. Of course, President Xi Jinping would like to use these multiple meetings and the summit meeting to showcase SCO as an alternative platform, whereas India keeps insisting it's non-Western but not anti-Western. And India would try to make that balance again, that it shouldn't look like that India is burning all the bridges with Western countries. The dialogue with US will continue. At the same time, we are talking of FTA with European Union. We have already signed one with UK and so on. So India's language, body language will be one of balancing, whereas engaging. Chinese language will be to showcase how an alternative large platform is being built under Chinese leadership. So we will notice in the readouts as to what exactly was clinched. I think several minor bilateral issues, but also understanding and building common understanding on the language that will follow in the other sessions, including in the final Tianjin declaration that is likely to come, whether it will have India's concerns. You remember in June, uh, Defense Minister did not sign the declaration of Defense Ministers of SCO. So this meeting will also ensure that India's interests, like concerns for terrorism, are raised. I'm not expecting mention of Pakistan in the final declaration, but issue of terrorism will be dealt in great detail. And I think that is what is the indication of a 40-minute meeting going all the way to 60 minutes and beyond is a positive sign that India's concerns and India's relevance to the world order now and to China is really being underlined.
Right, sir. Right. Absolutely. Great points there. Gautam, coming to you, taking a leaf out of what Professor Singh also said, this could be a forum which, may be a blessing in disguise or, maybe an alternative to, what India has been seeking with the Americans. And this is the only forum, Gautam, where you have Pakistan, where you have Russia, where you have Iran, more or less countries which find themselves ostracized, relegated for different geopolitical reasons. Is that also some sort of a light at the end of the tunnel which India and China as mature economies can leverage to their advantage in light of the Trump tariffs?
Well, Vineet, one outcome that I definitely expect is more than a small increment in trade between India and China, and likewise between India and Russia. With Russia, it may largely be oil, of course, but also armaments and particularly collaboration in armaments made in India, Atmanirbhar, with China. Now, this is not the popular viewpoint, but I do think it is time to start the rupee yuan trade. Now, if we were to do that, the main argument against it is what if they weaponize it? But at the same time, the geopolitical situation is such that America has weaponized just about everything. Tariffs, the dollar, foreign policy in general. They hold back even on contracts that they have signed in terms of execution. So to do this rupee yuan, if India and China agree to do this, perhaps in a limited capacity on certain matters, it will encourage the whole of BRICS. As it is, we have opened Vostro accounts and rupee trade accounts with most of the people in BRICS, most of the countries in BRICS. SCO involves most of Central Asia. Various other people from Eastern Europe are also joining. I think this could go a long way to send a signal also to ASEAN and actually push back against the kind of, if you like, maverick behavior that America has employed to put pressure on India and China. China, they cannot really get away with it. India, they think they can, and have provided an absolute excuse to us to diversify, strengthen alternate platforms like the SCO, and we will, I think, take full advantage of that. As far as security issues go, I think we're going to be very wary. There is Pakistan amongst our midst. We are meeting with Myanmar to possibly reduce tensions and increase trade. Um, what will happen in the India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China context, including Nepal, is part of the security conundrum and may be looked at perhaps with less dynamism and very much a process of what you do and then I do it and you do it and I do it. It could go slowly, but trade has no business going slowly now. I don't think China, as I've said before, any longer, I don't know if it ever did, but does not regard India as an expansionist power. And India, in turn, at least for now, is willing to accept that China will not make trouble on the borders. Vinit.